Welcome back, guys. Let's talk Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. Now, ever since about a week ago, I've had a pretty confident path forward for MSTR that I'll share with you today, as well as why I feel the way I do about MSTR. First, we're going to start with Bitcoin. I'm zooming in here. We are back above this green line. The green channel is the 8-year channel. It's contained 8 years of Bitcoin's price action on the linear chart. I love that we broke out of the bull flag as forecasted. And if you were in my private group, well, you also knew I forecasted that to happen over the weekend, which it did. It resulted in a nice gap up for MSTR today that we've kind of retraced. But I also forecasted the price range for this week that I feel pretty strongly in. Again, I'll share it with you on this video. Also, apologies that I haven't recorded more YouTube videos. I just recently realized I've only done 3 videos so far in August, so I'll try to be better about that. All right, this is what I think for Bitcoin this week. Something like this. Something just like an equilateral triangle that will most likely resolve either Friday, which would be kind of crazy, maybe Friday after market hours. But the reason for this is, I don't know if you guys pay attention, and it's more so for major ETFs on like the indices, like the SPY ETF, but the major monthly options expirations do tend to pin price action and just make people wait while it bleeds out the time decay of those options. And well, this Friday is the August options expiration. Understanding that, I really thought that we're not going to get big moves until basically after this week. And again, I want to show you the MSTR chart more than I want to show you the Bitcoin chart, but this is my thoughts. Like I expected, let me just draw this for you really quickly. Quick fib retrace. I was thinking, all right, Bitcoin will go up to 120,000.8 and hang out here a little bit. But when this wick went way above, up to 122,000.3, and the retrace part to me is not even that relevant. I just said, why did it do that? You know what I mean? These wicks, they are going to ultimately manifest in some pattern. You typically don't get random erratic price action on, especially Bitcoin. Bitcoin is incredible. If you ask me, in terms of just like technical analysis, nothing's really guaranteed. By the way, not financial advice. I own Bitcoin. I own MSTR, and I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own due diligence. Don't treat this as me telling you what to trade. Got that out the way. Anyways, I believe this is what we're going to look at basically for the next week. I'm going to show you the MSTR trading range very soon, but also just another way to look at Bitcoin here. TradingView doing what it does, doing this buggy stuff where it copies what I drew on another chart over here. So this is the red channel. By the way, the red channel to me is showing you where we're going this cycle for Bitcoin. I think we're going to go way up here, maybe even test the top up here, depending on when we get there, 220,000, well within the realm of possibility. Or if you connect the 2017 top, you could get as high as like 320,000. And this is a linear chart, okay? So hopefully that's not pissing anybody off thinking that that's not high enough. I know there's calls for like 444,000, which would be amazing. I wouldn't be upset with that, but you're gonna have to go to like the log chart and start getting crazy to reach those kinds of price predictions. Anyways, on this chart, I was just thinking, can we look at Bitcoin a different way? Are there like fib levels that maybe we are missing? So I'm gonna go bottom to top here from the May high of 112,000, connect it to the June bottom of 98,000, and you get something like this. You'll notice that recent move kind of retraced and established 112,000 as the support. We bounced off that. Love seeing that. And now my guess is we're gonna spend a little bit more time around this 120,800 level, which is ultimately where I thought we were headed for recently. And then what would allow us to spend a lot of time around that level would be if we did do some sort of a equilateral triangle consolidation right here before resuming higher. And Bitcoin's done that a ton of times. We would get to spend a lot more time, get some more daily closes right around that level. So that is what I'm projecting. Here's just one other way of looking at Bitcoin. I'm going to refresh this honestly because TradingView already screwed up the chart. There we go. It's a little hack there to get it to remove the drawings that weren't supposed to be there from other tabs. Check this out, guys. This is the chart. I know most of you guys watching this are familiar with my content, but the Bitcoin log chart to me is why we are here today having this conversation, okay? More than anything else. I don't care about narratives. I don't care. I like narratives here and there, but what I'm really looking for is a real signal that's telling me we're going significantly higher. Obviously, like you can just DCA into Bitcoin and you don't need to watch YouTube videos telling you to buy Bitcoin, right? At this point, I think we all know, you could DCA into Bitcoin all day. You don't need to watch videos or stress over anything. You're going to be okay in the long run, most likely, knock on wood. But we can get a little bit more aggressive with our trading strategies because, well, we're looking at a log scale Bitcoin chart breakout, which has resulted in absolutely insane runs Now, back in like 2013, for instance, we had 2 breakouts that year. They ran extremely quickly in a very short period of time. Like 4 weeks was one of the runs. And I think price ran like 600, or no, probably like 300% in 4 weeks. It was insane. As time has progressed, the moves have gotten smaller on a percentage basis and they've taken longer. The most recent one, I think, took like 20 weeks and the price ran like 300 something percent. So if you just do that math real quick, like, 20 weeks and 74%. Okay, ready? This would be a muted gain, but this is what it would look like if we just add 16 weeks to where we are now. Or let's do 15 because I think we've already been in this for 5 weeks. And a 77% gain would take us to 208,000 Bitcoin in November 2025, late November 2025. Okay, I've done other videos on this, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. But we are consolidating around and above the clearly defined white line that is the breakout level on the log chart. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please check out some of my older videos. Click here to watch my full 1 hour long Bitcoin and MicroStrategy thesis video. Just for a quick reference, guys, the 2017 breakout, if you measure from right when it got above the breakout level, it was a 641% gain in 26 weeks. The next one, just for a quick reference here, was in November of 2020, and in 21 weeks, price ran 274%. Which is ultimately, and these inverted parabolas, like you see a red one and an orange one, I don't treat them as exact sciences. I've also got another kind of hidden parallel channel up here that's more of like a linear measurement on a log scale chart. So I'm not in love with it, but also showing that like Bitcoin could go as high as 300,000. Again, the longer it takes to get there, the higher we go. So it ultimately depends on how long this move takes to be fully formed. But I think everything's on the table, and based on what you just saw me talk about with those previous breakouts, and there's only been like 5 breakouts, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're in the midst of the 6th breakout, guys. And we've now had 1, 2, 3, 4 weekly closes above the breakout level. We're working on the 5th here. Okay. And the log scale breakout level support is 118,000, basically on the dot for anybody that's keeping track. So I needed to talk about that because, guys, like MSTR is basically at Bitcoin's mercy right now, if you ask me. Even though, yes, I get that there's like MSTR ratio charts. I actually tweeted out some of them just last week and said MSTR is primed to outperform. Yes, I do think that's going to happen, but I'm also looking at it more through the context of like, we're looking at MSTR to make these massive gains. And it's worth mentioning. I'm going to jump over to this chart first. Like, you guys have seen this chart before if you've been subscribed to my channel. The money on MSTR is made in like less than 5% of the time. Like literally all the money is made on these big vertical moves. Like the whole consolidation that precedes that, nobody's really making money here. This is where it's just wasting your options premiums and, making people lose interest and chase other things, right? The next big, I called this my J's chart here. It's just killing people's interest, making people give up on MSTR. And then boom, all the money is made on this uptrend. And we just went through the same thing again on a larger scale. Everybody's losing interest down here. Okay, look where we are. We're right here on the uptrend. If you guys missed my video from last week, I literally compared step by step right in front of you. I went through and I compared all of these moves just like I'm drawing it right now, but I made sense of it step by step. I didn't just kind of draw a bunch of squiggles and say, trust me. I never want people to trust me. I want you to go through it with me and see what I see. But I basically reconciled them and said, hey, this is the exact same pattern. Where we are right now on this larger scale move was back when I recorded that video right there, correlated with that low right there when we were down here at MSTR, 365 after earnings. And so far, so good. You can see it does spend some time getting out and above the, I don't want to call it the breakout level. To me, the MSTR breakout level is on the log chart, but I call it like the line in the sand here on the linear chart in these J's, these J structures. So check this out. Like basically what I think we have to look forward to, actually it's better illustrated on this chart. This is the exact same chart, by the way, just my green channel chart, not as busy. This linear channel has contained all of MSTR's price action going back 5 years. Okay, so that's about it. That's, nothing too crazy going on here, but it's sometimes nice to have like a cleaner look on the chart. I'm gonna use a fib retrace top to bottom here. These are weekly bars now, by the way. And what I told my private group this morning in my weekly forecast was, well, number one, I told them what I expected for Bitcoin right there. And then I said, I also think MSTR's weekly bar is going to range from basically 424, which is the 618 Fibonacci, down to not that low, actually. I thought that support would ultimately be last week's high of around 395. So if anybody's taking notes, my guess is that the weekly support will be 395 And the upper, bounds of the weekly move this week will most likely be 424. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. But I don't expect these like crazy moves yet. Like, this is the thing. And I told you I want to share the forecast. So anybody who's still with me, thank you for giving me the time of day. Now is what I'm going to show you, like what you probably wanted to see right away. I made you wait for it though. Sorry about that. Here we go. So I expect this week to look something like this. I expect next week, and I don't think they can't like wick lower, but I expect next week to be something like this, where we could go as high as 475 next week. And we should be able to reconcile that with Bitcoin. So I think after we do all of this consolidating, we could jump, and again, we're just going off these Fibonacci levels from the July 14th high of around 123.3K. Then we retrace this down to the August bottom of like 112,000. So we break out of this symmetrical triangle consolidation. I think we go up to right around, 130,000, which is the 1.618 fib. And it's not really obvious on this chart, but there is also this overhead resistance, which I can make a different color so you can actually see it in that white line, okay, where we connected March 2025 price top to the May 2025 price top to the July 2025 price top. And I do think that like we do get above this line at some point, but we don't really need to, it's going to be hard to jump over these resistances, right? It's fun for me to say, oh no, we just go straight to 150K and everybody's like, yay, we're bullish. Instead, let's be practical. Let's be reasonable. If we consolidate this week, then we break out over the weekend, we can go straight to 130K easily because we've spent all this time consolidating in these bullish structures, which also could be viewed, depending on how they present, as even an inverted head and shoulders. Theoretically, it all depends, right? We'll see when we get there. But I think that jump to 130K is going to happen rapidly and get a bunch of people sucked right back into Bitcoin and the Bitcoin adjacent equities. But right here would not be a great time to go long in the short term, right? In the short term, of course. Long term, you're fine probably. Of course, not financial advice. But you don't want to get sucked in right against resistance up here, as it tends to happen, right? Then our friends and family who don't really like crypto start calling us, asking for advice. Because what happens? Then you start to retrace the move. And again, we start doing the Fibonacci retraces. You went high, then you went low. We do the fib thing again. And next thing you know, we're racing to 141 next, okay? You guys get my logic here. I'm giving you kind of a quick rundown. But when I just say, oh yeah, and then next week MSTR jumps from 424 up to 475, well, that's a bigger move up than we've seen in a long time. I mean, it's not the biggest move we've seen down in a long time from the earnings week. But that's kind of my forecast. I think once we get up to 475, you're going to start seeing it retrace a little bit. Obviously, the top of this candle right here that closed at 446 is probably going to come in play. So at a minimum, we're going to probably retrace to that and then maybe jump back up. These significant Fibonacci levels, guys, you're going to have to build up some closes around them. Right now, we're looking at weekly bars, so it's not really telling the full story. And it's on a day-to-day basis, like it's so much more nuanced, right? So that's why it's like, oh, let's do a weekly range video where we talk about, like, I don't want to tell you Monday it's going to close here, Tuesday it's going to close here, Wednesday here. I'd rather say, I believe this will be the top range. This will be the bottom of the range. For people that are like selling calls or anything like that, pretty useful because so far we've been pretty darn accurate, I would say. Even with the 390 call on earnings week, yeah, it closed at 366. But remember that week it opened at 418. So you got 28 points right there. If you sold calls against your position and or rolled them into puts, you're looking real well. But anyways, you see what I did there. So next week, big move, 475. The week after, potentially retracing down to like 446. The week after that, maybe we go back up to 475. Maybe we go up above and then retrace it. Okay, so you get a wick here, but the weekly close ends up being right back there around 476 because the week after that, now we're in the first week of September, we can push to get up to 542. Does this make sense? Like how we're doing this? And I'm not getting into the day-to-day nuance. I'm getting into the weekly bars because it's so much easier. Macro, we just zoom out to say, okay, that's why we don't need to get overly excited about MSTR ... yet. These big moves will come. And again, we should be able to match them up against Bitcoin, which we can pretty much do, okay? Timing it is always harder, but at this point, you know what my secret is for timing things? Is this chart right here and these J's. The J's pattern, this one was very similar to this one. This one's just on a larger scale, and I know my charts are getting insane now, so I should probably wrap the video. But above that, guys, guess what happens the week after? We go right up here and run into this green channel support at about 630. There's some hidden resistances up here that we've talked about behind the scenes quite a bit. Talking about perfect dream entries. Well, 630 resistance, retrace to one of those hidden overhead resistances, turn supports. The all-in dream entry would be somewhere in this range. I'll give you a hint. Maybe we'll talk about it at that later date, but now we're already into potentially like the first week of October. If you're irresponsibly long MSTR like I am, how much would it be worth to you to have somebody who's in the charts daily looking for the perfect entry for shares and options, and eventually looking to see if we might have topped and it's time to take profits? If this is something that interests you, I want to invite you to check out my MSTR Generational Wealth community linked below.